And welcome back to the Hot Lap, and welcome Japan F1 Friday, officially Yuki Mania in Japan, understandably, because he's now in the Red Bull, replacing, as you probably are aware, Liam Lawson, which, yes, we have our views on that. Just look at our previous videos. Anyway, let's celebrate Yuki Tsunoda in his first F1 Friday at his home race in Japan, Suzuka. Now, Yuki said he wanted to get on the podium. That's not impossible, but it's going to be maybe a bit more difficult than he thinks. This was the fastest in free practice one. We had Lando Norris. Second, George Russell. And third was Charles Leclerc. It got better, I think, for Piastri in the next one. But this is your top 20. So Yuki Tsunoda, though, significantly did end up in 6th place. Just over a 10th. Behind Max Verstappen, who did 23 laps. Yuki Tsunoda did 25. Fairly significant. Liam Lawson all the way down. I don't say all the way down. Down in 13th. So slower than Isaac Hadjar, but not too much slower. Just we're talking like 2 or 3 tenths. About 3 tenths slower, but it is FP1. FP1 doesn't mean much, but it probably means a bit more in Suzuka because of what happened in FP2. But we're going to get to that in a bit. The slowest was Bortoletto. And then both Hasses 18th and 19th. So it was both Hasses basically in a sour steak sandwich with Nico Hulkenberg 17th. Significantly, Lewis Hamilton was 4th within a 10th of Charles Leclerc. Then we had Yuki Tsunoda 6th. Fernando Alonso 7th. Isaac Hadjar in the top 10. Along with Kimi Antonelli also in the top 10. Carlos Sainz a smidge faster than Alexander Albon. And then in the Alpine, we had Ryo Hayakawa replacing Jack Doohan, and that, I think, potentially, maybe just a bit, had an impact going to FP2, and we'll get into that in a sec. So these were the fastest sector times. It was pretty much dominated by Norris, apart from Sector 3. It was Norris Sector 1, Sector 2 was obviously Norris. The closest, Alonso, very close in that Sector 1. And there's so much time to be made in Sector 1 with those S's, through the S's. If you were listening to the Sky feed, they had Jack Villeneuve on, and he said something quite interesting, which I completely agree with. You know, me being the expert, no. But he basically said, when you go into the sectors, into the S's, if you are off on one of them, and then you're off for the next 3 or 4 corners, potentially, losing tenths and tenths and tenths. So Sainz, though, in Sector 3, and it's quite a high-speed Sector 3, because it's essentially you come out of spoon. And that's pretty much it. Sector 3, quite significant. So it was Sector 3, Kimi Antonelli fastest, Carlos Sainz, so not long behind him, and Verstappen. That could also show the downforce levels they're having, the wing levels they are having, because Norris was about 3 tenths off in Sector 3. Once again, it's FP1. We're going to get an FP2 in a bit, and this is FP2 third. Isaac Hadjar, welcome to the party. And it was a McLaren 1-2, but it was Oscar Piastri, then Lando Norris, then Isaac Hadjar. Having said that, there was nearly 40 minutes of non-running in FP2. It was absolutely crazy. For want of a better expression. But this is the lowdown. Oscar Piastri obviously fastest, just by half a tenth. And that was Lando Norris. Isaac Hadjar 4 tenths off. So the McLaren's looking comfortable at the very least. But there is a but in the equation when we get into the race. We'll get into that in a bit. Lewis Hamilton slightly faster than Charles Leclerc. But when you look at third, down to, even 7th. I mean, look at that. It's we're talking hundredths off until we get to Max Verstappen, who's half a second off. Yuki Tsunoda all the way down 2.5 seconds off Max Verstappen's pace. But to be fair, this was you could tell by the amount of laps everyone did, this was a really troubled session where I don't know, we learned really that much. No one had a completely decent slog. When we look at the issues of the session here, the grass was on fire. Yeah, just like China. They had to red flag the session there, which was not good. It was Fernando Alonso going off in the Degler curves. Yeah, it looked like he hit the grass and then basically spun off. Whoops-a-daisy for Fernando Alonso. And then we've got this. This is from I think the spectator stand. The crash from Doohan. This was slightly intense as well. There we go. It comes down. It just snaps. Oh, into the wall, and it was into the wall. I mean, that really hurt. He didn't move for a while, and a lot of us, including myself, we were quite concerned. Here we go, skids. It's just that massive impact in the wall, stuff going everywhere, stuff going in the crowd, smoke going in the crowd, and the wheel falling off. Remember, the wheels are tethered. They shouldn't be falling off. Such was the hit. We thought he went in the grass. Others have now suggested that he didn't close the DRS. If it was a driver mistake, not particularly great for doing. Bear in mind, he is under a lot of pressure. But there we go, one more time. It's hard to tell where he hit now. Massive accident for doing there. Glad he's all right. He had us a bit worried there, if I'm honest, for a second. But this is the free practice 2 times. One times best sector, and this time Ferrari featured on one of them. Other than that, it was McLaren all the way around. It was sector 1, best sector. Ferrari, and it also means your car's hooked up quite well. It could also mean you put a bit more downforce on. But Ferrari half a second off the ideal lap for McLaren, and Ferrari nearly 0.3 off in Sector 3. McLaren decided, obviously, they improved very much in Sector 3. The Racing Bulls, though, obviously that's going to be Isaac Hadjar, isn't it? It's not going to be Yuki Tsunoda second in Sector 2. Mercedes up there as well, not a million miles away when we look at the actual practice times, which is here. And this time George Russell, thereabouts in 6th. Kimi Antonelli was all the way down in 16th, and he's not that much slower than George Russell. Jack Doohan obviously last, just 4 laps, 3.5 seconds off. Lance Stroll slower than Fernando Alonso, in spite of Alonso making that whoops-a-daisy. But yeah, a really mixed session, a really troubled session. And obviously with that Doohan crash, it's just nasty. But this is the caveat here. That McLaren are looking good, and it's looking consistent for Friday and Saturday. A high chance, not guaranteed, but a high chance of rain. It's gone up from 50%, I think, to what it was as we're coming into the weekend. But over 50% now chance of rain, in spite of it being slight 2 degrees warmer in Japan. And if that's the case, nothing is a guarantee in Japan, like Australia, although Lando Norris and Piastri were very strong in those mixed conditions in Australia. Yes, Oscar did go off at the last corner, one little mistake. Lando did the same, but basically maintained it. But yeah, so the weather looking interesting. This is what I thought was interesting, though. The cheer. Yes, Yuki Mania has begun in Japan. I think it was always there, but it's now been unleashed. Here's the cheer from Yuki. Big claps. I mean, there were other places where more than that. This is the one that captured it. See the clap for Yuki. Go. No. Hey, yeah. One more time for the Yuki fans. And it's good. Yuki in the Red Bull. Very good as the session was starting. I didn't know. It's been a while since I didn't know they actually played that round the circuits. So, because when I was at Silverstone, I don't know if they did, but that was all the way back in 2021. Anyway, moving on. This is what I thought was quite nice. Both Sergio Perez and Perez and Gasly, they reached out to Yuki Tsunoda to offer him tips and advice, which I thought was quite nice. Especially Sergio Perez, because technically Yuki sort of replaced him in the end, but Yuki is in his seat. And Yuki, he shares his honest feedback on the RB21 after his first session. He said, also, quite messy, I think. Yeah, I can give you feedback, but I found the car interesting on the track. But yeah, it's okay. Good sesh. Good sesh there from Yuki Tsunoda. A good sesh. So this was awkward. This is the main. When you get promoted and run into your former colleague, this was the Red Bull testing day. Yeah. Really awkward there for Yuki Tsunoda and Isaac. Not Isaac Hadjar, but there's Liam Lawson. There's Yuki Tsunoda. Oh, to be fair, Liam Lawson is seen smiling, so that's nice. But I think in terms of cringe and awkwardness, I think only The Office sitcom, both the American and the UK version, I think could get more awkward watching. So this was Yuki Tsunoda at his best with, let's be fair, it's not a V6. It's not a V6. Here we go. On a display. I'm not sure if it's Tokyo, but it was in Japan. Didn't throw it in the wall as well, which is all the plus. But yeah, you can hear that engine just about. Looking good, Yuki. And Tsunoda after FP2, he said FP1 was better than expected. He was talking about it being a good start for himself. FP2, he said he didn't set a lap time. Lots of work to do. Maybe slightly struggled. He's admitting to struggling a bit, or something we have to look through the data, but overall he said, it's okay. We just have to build up more confidence. He said, I knew it was always going to be a bit different in the real car compared to the simulator, and it was quite a bit more exaggerated in the real car. It feels a bit more tricky, which I think is going to be seconded by both Perez and Liam Lawson, I imagine. But Christian Horner, after the FP1, he had praise for Yuki. He said it was a good start for Yuki. He settled in well, gave very good feedback, and that's one of the things that the engineer said. I think at the Abu Dhabi test that Yuki gave very good feedback. Now, he was asked if Yuki was on a better engine mode than Max because of how close Yuki finished behind Max, bearing in mind his other teammates. And Christian Horner said no, they're both on the same engine modes, which is interesting. So Verstappen delivers Tsunoda verdict. Tsunoda impressed Max Verstappen in his first day driving the Red Bull. Tsunoda, as we know, he hit the ground running in the session. And it may only be his third race weekend of F1 25, but Verstappen already has a new teammate. And he said, I think Yuki started off very well today, Verstappen declared, even though FP1 and FP2 was very chaotic. He explained that Friday was a day of experimenting for him, the RB21, with Red Bull having called an emergency meeting ahead of the weekend to discuss the underwhelming start, and that's where I imagine it was decided that Liam Lawson was to go. He said, however, many of those experiments not clicking as much as Verstappen had hoped. Precious time was lost, sadly, due to all those red flags. 4 red flags in total in FP2. I don't know if 4's the record or is it 5. But he said, of course, it was quite chaotic out there for everyone with the red flags. Like everyone else, we couldn't complete what we wanted to do. At least that's what Verstappen said. But who's gonna? I mean, you've got to have to say one of the clowns drivers is favourite, even if it is wet, sorry, rather than raining. But where can Yuki finish? Will Liam Lawson finish ahead of Yuki? The race is most certainly different. It's going to be interesting. Yuki Tsunoda versus Liam Lawson. That's what the media are saying. But who's going to get on that Japan podium? Wouldn't it be lovely if Yuki did? Wouldn't it be interesting if Liam Lawson did? Both of them getting on the podium. We have seen stranger things, let's be fair. If you made it to the end, that is absolutely amazing. If you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much. It will make me smile at the very least. If you're already subscribed and you want to help us a bit more, just watching it is more than just watching this video and making it to this point is more than enough. If you want to do a bit more, hit that like button, comment below, let us know. But until then, we'll speak to you soon. Thank you for watching, but above all else, stay safe.